Welcome, I'm Lizzie Brooks and this is Lizzie Brooks Yoga and Fitness. Today's workout is high intensity interval training with yoga. So we're getting the best of both worlds. Talk about the dynamic duo. So we'll be getting the stretch and the grounding of the yoga as well as the strengthening and the cardiovascular elements of the high intensity interval training. This won't be a long practice, but I can assure you it will be extremely beneficial and impactful. So come on and join me on your mat. Okay, so if you want to have a towel or a blanket handy for the knees, that might be a really nice idea for some of the work that we will do on all fours today. So the first exercise that we do, you might already want to use that under your knees. So if you like to pad your knees, do that. Take your hands to the floor, spread the fingers gently wide. Start to just articulate the spine in both directions, nice and slow, getting the blood flowing, getting a little more flexibility and movement here through the shoulders, through the pelvis, and through that spine. And then from here, let's go ahead into a downward facing dog where we pedal out through the hamstrings, preparing the legs with that nice movement, not asking too much, not saying, okay, the heels have to come all the way down. They don't have to come all the way down. And then press your heart back through your arms and just sway your hips side to side, inviting a little more lateral stretch through the side body and of course getting the stretch in the hips and hamstrings. Inhale here, exhale slowly lower to all fours. From here, start to just bring one knee up and then the other knee up. We're going to point the knees towards our elbows or roughly somewhere around that vicinity to start to wake up the core. Get that blood flowing. Yes, as I've been talking about, we are going to get that blood flowing. It's very obvious. And start to integrate more of that core and hip work. Now, if you already want to take it up a notch, do this same work from a plank pose. Not sagging, not downward dog, but right there in that plank, stabilizing the spine. Drawing one knee in, toes back, other knee in, toes back. 3, 2, 1, downward facing dog. Widen your feet this time and sway your hips side to side again in that wider footed position. Be inside your breathing. Soften the neck. This is an opportunity to do that. Let that neck go. And then from here, look to your hands, walk the feet in and then up towards your hands. Bend your knees and through chair pose, let's come all the way up. You can reach forward or to the sides, eventually straightening the legs and bringing the hands to the heart. Give everything a shake out and let it go. So we're going to start some heel taps, okay? So I'm going to ask you to do movement that you might not be used to. And today is going to be jam-packed with dynamic movement and really cool stuff to integrate. So start your heel taps, and then we're going to take toe taps, toes back, okay? So once you have that, let's do one of each. Heel, heel, toe back, heel, heel, toes, toes. So some of us are going to stay with that because it's not something we're used to doing and the body and the mind are getting used to how that even works, okay? Now from here, you can add a little hop. Heel, heel, toe, toe. Heel, heel, toe, toe. So I'm initiating with my right heel and I'm not mirroring when I do that. So it'll look like my left to you, but I'm initiating with my right. So now, whoop, I'm going to initiate with my left. Heel, heel, toe, toe. So I want you to try to see which one you were initiating with and initiate with the other, because this is where that brain and body training happens. And then maybe if you're hopping, add your hop, okay? Don't worry if this doesn't come easy or come today at all, okay? Just slow it down. We've got lots of different things we're doing today. Some will feel easier, some will feel more challenging. And then from here, pause in your mountain pose. Bring your hands to your heart. Feet can be separated any distance. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, chair pose, hands to the heart. Now we're going to bring in a heel lift and lower, a heel lift and lower. Getting more access to the work of the quads. And of course, there's an element of balance. You're working the ankles, you're working the calves, arches of the feet, and even stretching and working the toes. So up and down with the heels. You can slow this way down, or if lifting and lowering the heels doesn't work, lift and lower the hips instead, okay? Especially if lifting and lowering the heels bothers the knees at all. And if you want to add more speed, add more speed. You'll start to feel that lactic acid build, and we're actually looking for that. That's not a bad thing. With high intensity interval training, we actually want to go into this fatiguing place. Do some research, check it out, and you'll be more motivated to stay with high intensity interval training. Lower the heels, do another sweep, reach the arms up, straighten the legs, and exhale, hands to the heart. Deep breath comes in, and sigh that out, shake that out. So I'm gonna show you from the sides. Bring your arms forward, bend the knees. You're gonna take your left arm back, and then forward, right arm back, and then forward. So we're bringing in a twist, and we're working shoulders and upper back a little bit more with this. I like to do this tiny little lift and lower of my pelvis with this. You can keep it steady if you like. Back, front, back, and front. If it's too much for the arm to go all the way back, go partially back. Everyone has a different range of movement where it feels comfortable, and that's where you need to stay. One more time each side, and back. Come all the way up for that reach, and exhale, you guessed it, hands to the heart. Deep breath in, shake out all the clutter. Come on to the top of your mat. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. You might be bending the knees here to protect the back and the hamstrings. Inhale, rise halfway up. Exhale, take it back to your plank pose or knees down plank, and then decide to go directly to down dog or child's pose if you need a little more rest, or rock the heels forward, chaturanga. You can take your upward dog today or a cobra if that's preferable, and then derive the work from the core to your downward facing dog. Let's go back into that pedal, giving some love to the hamstrings and releasing the neck. This time, walk your hands back to your feet. You'll bend the knees. And again, we'll press up through that chair, reaching, and hands through to the heart. Deep breath comes in. And shake it out. I always like to shake it out. It just kind of sets the tone, lets go of the old, brings you into the new. So we're gonna bring the feet together this time, and we have options to march and march back, or to hop and hop back. So you can do roughly 2 or 3 baby hops out and in. So a lot of times just hopping in the same place, that's great. But we wanna work the hips a little differently by coming in and out. You can do what you want with the arms here. The arms could come in and go out. You could keep the arms reaching up for a little more work. You can keep them in fists of fire to the sides. It's really whatever you want. The main focus is baby hops with bent knees, out and in. Baby hops, not straightening the legs in between. Unless you need a break, and then definitely do that. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Breathing here, hands over your heart this time. So I want you to connect with the changes you're already making. The body is now using more of that pump of the heart to supply the blood. Soften at the bridge of the nose. Get rid of any of the fight in the body and come into agreement with the breathing and with your intention for what you want for your body. Come on to the top of the mat. For a lot of us, we're really tuckered, and the best thing we could do now is to stay in mountain pose and catch our breath. If you want to bring a vinyasa through, obviously you can do that. The variation you choose is up to you. Exhale, fold. Ardha Uttanasana. Step or hop back. You might be taking a vinyasa. You might not be taking a vinyasa, and it doesn't make the practice any less valuable. Breathing in your downward facing dog. Okay, so I'm going to show you from standing something we will integrate in downward dog, but we're going to do it standing first. Walk your hands back to your feet. Press all the way to stand. Bring the hands to the heart. Okay, so go ahead and go a little pigeon-toed. This is internal rotation. And then go external rotation, toes out. So just in and out, okay? So some of us are gonna work this, and this is not something we do on a daily basis, but it's really great to keep that range of movement rotating the femur head and the pelvis, internal and external. If you want a little bit more, you have no joint issues, you're going to do this in a hop. In, out, in, out. So this internal and external rotation is actually even helpful for hamstring opening and hamstring length. I know it might not seem like it, but that rotation, very key to stick with. All right, and then if you want a little bit more, speed it up, in and out. Oh God, I won't get the chicken song in your head. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Whew. Hands over the heart. Reconnect. If you are hardening out through the knee joints, soften the knee joints. From the crown of the head to the feet and back, clear a pathway of connection and breath. So keep in mind internal and external rotation. I want you to have that handy for what we're about to do. And obviously, as always, you'll have options to modify. Stay here and catch your breath, or move through any variation of your vinyasa today. So I'm deciding I'm kind of going to slow it down a bit and take a cobra, working a different area of the back than upward dog does, a little higher up here. And I'm going to reach back for that semi-child's pose first before downward dog. Now, if you're in your standing position, catching your breath, join us in a downward dog now, please. And with the heels separated about 6 inches, turn your heels in, press your heart back. This is gonna open the sides of the legs nicely. You might even feel like it's helpful for the IT band as it opens the glutes. And then go into a pigeon-toed. Again, toes are about 6 to 8 inches apart. Pigeon-toe. You don't have to overdo it. The movement needs to come from the hips, not the knees, okay? So back and forth, just like we did standing. You might do this back and forth in downward dog. If you want, you're going to add a bend in the knees with the toes out, heels in. Go high, turn the toes in, heels out, bend the knees. So I'm going to alternate, knees bend out, knees bend in, knees bend out, knees bend in. And I'm letting my torso come forward in between the bent knees. So in between doing the bent knee positions. So as I'm kind of straightening, I bring the chest forward. As I bend, I bring the chest back. Out and in. Really great quad work. And you'll probably notice that even your groin, inner thighs, adductors are getting into the mix. 3, 2, it's one of those slow counts. 1. End with your feet turned out and separate the heels even wider, so maybe a foot or so apart. Press your heart back and more of a back bend than a classic downward dog. Breathe here, opening the shoulders. Now, let yourself walk back into Malasana, a squat pose. You might have to transfer the feet into a different area so that you feel more balanced here. You can even sit up on a blanket, sit up on blocks or a bolster, or let the heels lift, okay? Breathing here, opening, again, those adductors, that groin. Deep breath in, tongue out, third eye. That's a lion's breath. Very beautiful, very impactful. We're not going for beautiful. Inhale, tongue out, look at your third eye point. Fingertips come down. Lift the hips up, turn the toes forward, and then bend the knees, this time round all the way up into your standing posture. Roll the shoulders around a few times. So we're going to do one of my favorite moves as of late. So widen your stance. I always feel these the next couple of days because it's kind of a newer move I'm putting in. Love it. Bend one knee, touch down, or come to the thigh. Okay? You can stay higher up or go lower. And then just transfer to the other side, higher up or lower down. And let's just go back and forth. Toes and knees are roughly pointing in the same direction, so we're taking care of the knee joints. Back and forth, back and forth. Okay, now from here, you can stay down with the fingertips or on the thigh and lift the other leg, okay? Yeah, I said that. Down to the other side, lift sideways. Side, lift the extended leg. Down, lift the extended leg. Or thigh, lift, thigh, lift. The lift doesn't have to be high. These really get in to the hips a lot. Back and forth. One more time each side. And then wide-footed fold, breathing here. You can interlace the fingers around the head and traction the spine, maybe hands to the ankles, big toes, or down on the floor, maybe blocks, breathing. And then sway it out, let it go. If you overthought that last movement, just let it go. You've already lived it, let's move on. Bring your hands to your waist, put a big or a small bend in your knees, and inhale, come all the way up. Take your hands, or actually keep your hands at the waist, come a little closer in with your feet, and draw a circle with your waist around your hips, both directions. And we'll go to the top of the mat. So we're gonna do some stepping back with one leg. So you get to choose which leg is back, which leg is forward. And then bending the back knee and the front knee, it's roughly 90 degrees, doesn't have to be perfect. So some of us are gonna stay here, up and down, maybe reaching the arms up for a little more work. And then some of us are going to take switch hops, okay? So if you're in the up and down with the pelvis, okay, then stay with that. And then move to the other side about now. If you're in switch hops, stay with your switch hops as long as it's not bothering the knees. Back and forth. I know it's a lot to keep that breath going. You can even march this if needed, if it becomes too much, or make your range of movement smaller. 3, 2, 1. It wasn't a slow count that time, hallelujah. Hands over the heart, breath. Inhale, reach. Exhale, softly fold. Take it back, child's pose. Let the belly go slack. So you've been having to cultivate stability. Now let's let that go for a moment and maybe swish the hips a little side to side. You might be on the forearms, you might be lower down, whatever feels best for your body. That's where I'd like you to go. Rise up to all fours, and you can either stay with classic cat-cow or turn your fingers in, heels of the hands away, and do your cat-cow through that hand position, which for some of us, especially if you carry a lot of weights, if you carry a little child around or a large child around, if you are working out a lot or doing a lot of hanging. I just did a hanging video, a hanging core video. You will really want to stretch the underside of your forearms. And then we'll come to all fours, and this will have options too. I'm actually going to move my blanket out of the way so I can go a little more side to side here. So coming either to all fours, blanket could be under the knees, and tapping the knees to the sides, or even off into the air to the sides, or plank pose, tapping the toes to the sides. Okay, so you can stay with this pace if this feels right for you. If you want to add a little more quickness, then it's just a hop instead of a walk, side to side. Drawing those organs gently towards the spine. Now what happens a lot is we tend to push the shoulders back like this, behind the wrists. See if you can keep the shoulders a little more close to the wrist so you really get that shoulder work as well. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and once again, child's pose. Knees together or separated, depending on what feels best for you. Let's roll the wrists out and maybe even bloom the hands open and closed a few times. Once again, soften the bridge of the nose. Maybe sway the hips side to side. Downward facing dog, please. You're doing great. I know you're doing great. If you're still here, you're doing great. Soften that neck. Deep breath comes in through the nose and sigh out through the mouth. Look to the top of your mat. Take your feet there. Rise halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold Uttanasana. And then however you want to rise, make sure it feels safe for you. Come all the way up and bring your hands to your heart center. Deep breath in. And you guessed it, we gotta shake it out. We've got to. Okay, we're going to use the back of our legs. We've been doing a decent amount of quad stuff. We're gonna use hamstring work here. I'm actually gonna show you from the side that we wanna bring the heel to the sitting bone, not the knee into the belly. So different action of drawing that in, okay, with the glutes. So you can reach out to the sides. I like to turn my toes in whichever direction it feels comfortable, and then we're gonna bring in and in, okay? So it's almost like you could put a goddess squat in between, pulling the heel to the sitting bones, taking the arms out, and then maybe squeezing the arms back for a little bit more work. It's like you're kicking yourself in the hiney and saying, come on, you can do it. If you want more, deepen that goddess squat in the middle, in between kicks, okay? This could also look something like this. Less of a goddess squat, less of a bend in the knee, okay? Or maybe you take your arms out of the mix and you just bring more your legs into the work. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, goddess squat. Knees and toes turned in the same direction. Breathing. If you want more, bring the arms up. If you want more, slowly lift and lower the pelvis. Slowly and in a small range of movement, and not lower than the knees, please. So it helps me to picture you, to know that I'm not alone in this, that we're in this together. 3, 2, 1, all the way up. Heels turn back. Inhale here, maybe open the heart. Exhale for your second forward fold with those wide legs. Sway a little side to side and visit one leg. Stay over on that one leg, breathe. Try to distribute the weight across the feet pretty evenly. So if you're mostly just anchored in the heels or the ball joints, find both the ball joints and the heel getting some root, and then go to the other side and breathe there, please. Back to center. Right hand, actually I'll mirror you guys. Right hand down, left hand to the waist. Inhale, grow long in the spine. Exhale, little twist or maybe more of a twist, possibly reaching up. Make sure that lower shoulder is rolling back. Inhale here. Exhale, come on down. And that top arm could be at your waist. It doesn't have to go up. It can stay at the waist. Inhale for the other side. Get nice and long in the spine. Exhale, take your twist. Only lift that top arm if it feels good. Roll that lower shoulder a bit away from its ear there. And exhale, take it down. Bring the hands to the heart, your heart. I don't know anatomy because I think your heart's right here. Your hips, bend the knees any amount, come all the way back up. And heel toe or hop the feet in. If you're hopping, land with bent knees in the center. And wiggle, 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 let it go. Come up to the top of your mat. Bring your hands to your waist or your hips. I knew what it was this time. Bend the knees. Bring one leg back, high lunge. Breathe here. Maybe reach up, open your heart any amount, opening the front of that back hip. Exhale, lower the hands down. Come back, plank pose. Just directly to downward dog. Look to the top of the mat. Step or hop your feet there. Inhale, rise halfway up. Exhale, fold. Choose how you'd like to rise. Take your time. Hands to the heart and then the waist. Bend the knees and take the other leg back. Just taking a moment to shift into our high lunge, something the body's used to, aware of. Working the front hip and stretching the back hip. Well, there's elements of stretch and strength going on in both. Lifting the arms maybe opening the heart. Whatever you want to do with the arms. Inhale. Whoop. Exhale, lower the hands down. All right, come back into a downward dog. Start to lift your heels. You can walk the feet closer together, taking the ball joints near. And then move the torso forward, shoulders come more to the wrists. Now bend your knees, and now press everything back again, like you're almost doing a child's pose, up and back. So if you need to take a look, I'm churning, I'm making a circle here through downward dog with feet closer together. It's not a perfect circle by any means, but I'm letting the knees straighten, bend, press back. Forward, bend, press back. And if you want more work in the upper body, bend the arms during the coming forward and pushing back as they straighten once you get all the way back. Draw that core musculature towards the spine. And you might even play with reversing this rotation. Whoa, what's going on there? It might feel a little clunky or a lot clunky. I know it does for me. 3, 2, 1, downward dog. Widen your stance in your feet again and go side to side with the hips. Lower the knees, press back, child's pose, roll the wrists. So we always want to give some sweetness to the wrists if we've been on them a little bit and let that go. I like to shake them completely out here. This might be one of my favorite moves. Very weird. Really like it. My favorite 2 moves are coming up. So first one is we're going to cross under the midline with either our knees like this, tapping, or our outer feet. So you can touch just the toes down, or you can rotate a little bit more externally with the hip to get the outer side of your feet to touch, okay? And you're going side to side. Now you can touch closer to the feet or closer to the hands. That will change definitely the core work. And if you want more speed with this, as long as you're protective of the toes and you have enough breath, you can add that hop element back and forth. Playing around. Try to find the kid that's in you. I'm 41 and a half. Okay, where's that 5-year-old? Come on, please. Come on, 5-year-old. 3, 2, 1, and back to child's pose. Roll it out. We are almost done. Yes, you've survived, you've thrived. Come to a seated position where you can shake the arms out. Reach the arms up. Interlace the fingers, press the palms away from you. Maybe draw a circle, maybe find a little bit of a wave pattern. Just preparing a little more in those shoulders. Side body, and then shake it out again. Modifiable, as always. Bring your hips down to the ground. Shake the legs out. This one is super fun, and talk about creating new neural pathways. Absolutely it does. Point your toes and then press to your heels, back and forth. I would watch and then join in as you're ready. If this is too much, choose one of the other options from earlier, or just do some gentle yoga, because that's where we're going to join you in a moment. So whatever feels best. What this is it's a lift up into tabletop, and then we're going to turn the table over. So I'm actually going to come over this direction so you can see. I'm going to turn my hand back. So I'm going to go in this direction. So I'm going to turn my hand back first, and I'm going to rotate, and I'm going to create a forward, knees hanging, right? So hovering position. And then I'm gonna go back, turn my other hand back, and I'm going to go into my table. So this is working the shoulders, and I'm not fully probably in the frame here, but we're gonna take ourselves from that belly up to belly down, all fours position. Back and forth. Again, I might not be staying in the shot. You understand that when you're turning in that direction, your hand, you wanna kind of take your hand and point the fingertips away from your body. So you're ready for coming belly down and facing that direction. One more time. Now turn your fingertips either forward, side, or back. Lift your pelvis. Inhale. Look at your belly. Take a deep breath into it. And exhale. Inhale, breathe through the belly, or breathe to the belly, looking at it. And exhale, lower your hips all the way down. So no, that doesn't mean that you breathed into your belly. That was just a deep breath in the lungs and moving the diaphragm and displacing the organs. Shake it all out. And come to any seated position. You might want to add your blanket underneath your sitting bones here to make sitting more accessible. We're going to complement the work we just did with just a little bit of softness here. Start to find either one side of the head hanging towards the shoulder and then the other, or you might circle around. Especially when we're putting weight on our hands, we have a tendency to work the jaw and the neck in ways that aren't necessary, and those accessory muscles start to grip and hold on. Let's let them go. And then hang the head down towards the heart, and one vertebra at a time, let the head come all the way up into alignment. Sigh when you get to the top. Soften your shoulders. And then we're gonna open and close the jaw and take our chin and our jaw and make an underbite. So you're gonna open and then underbite. Again, really pretty stuff. Open and underbite. Open and underbite. And then move that around. Take your fingers at the jaw joints and push and rotate around. And you might move the jaw around with that. You might even find kind of underneath the cheekbone, I like to use my thumbs for that, some very tender places. Oh, there it is. And massage that out. Oh, so good when we realize we can actually give ourselves a massage and find tension we didn't even know we had. And shake that out. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, open the side body. Lean to one side, reach over. Ground the opposite sitting bone down. Make sure your neck is happy. You don't have to be staring up at the sky. Come all the way through midline and just gently take that to the other side. Opening it up. So if all we do is super fast, hard work and we skip the resting and the stretching and the opening, we're gonna be off balance. Come back to center. And if all we do is the stretching, then we're off balance as well. So we wanna bring it all in. Roll your shoulders back and down a few times. Reach the arms out, wrap one arm on top, hug in, round in. Give yourself a hug. Bloom up and open with the arms. Other arm on top, wrap around, hug in. Inhale, open up. Float the arms down and come on down to your back. If you want to use a little bit of a core rolling down, you absolutely can, maybe even holding on to the legs. Take a full body stretch. Reach your legs forward, reach your arms back. Wiggle and open. Find more length than you knew you had. And again, press and point through those ankles, through the feet. Soles of the feet come down to the floor. Bring the right knee in. Extend the right leg and interlace your fingers behind that right thigh or the calf, or easily if you can reach the foot, then okay. Maybe a strap here. Breathing. Let's not go for nose to knee. Let's instead go for really therapeutic totally accessible stretch while breathing. Love on these legs that just did all that hopping and marching and crazy stuff. And then bend. Let's go to the other side. I like to make sure I'm spreading my toes here so I don't get maybe a cramp, and then opening the arch of the foot as well, breathing here. And of course, I didn't mention on the first side, but if you like, and probably you did, but if you like to extend that lower leg, you can. For those of you who like it, you probably already did that. You're always 2 steps ahead of me. That's what I love about you. And then from here, hug both knees in. And you get to choose, because I chose all those weird movements before. Favorite twist. My favorite twist, as you guys probably know, I'm going to take my right knee in. That's pressing on my ascending colon. Then I'm going to take that over to the opposite side, unfurl my right arm, and breathe here. Know your shoulder and your knee do not have to both touch down. Opposite shoulder, opposite knee at the same time. No, no, no. Find a twist that feels good. You're in the right spot. Draw back through midline. Let's hug everything in for a moment. Only lift the head and chest if that feels right. If you lifted the head and chest, take it down. Keep the left knee in. Extend the right leg if you're taking this particular twist. If you're taking another twist, go there. And move it to the other side. Ah. Luxuriate in the resting. Luxuriate in this stretch, and in the release, and in the breath. Draw back through the midline, hug the knees in. Only lift the head and chest if you really feel good about that decision. Lower down, soles of the feet down, bring the legs forward. And then move the pelvis a little back and forth. Make sure that you have kind of released those hip flexors, that they feel good. Now, if you know that your body feels better, or maybe you don't know this, you should give it a shot. You might find something you like. You might roll a blanket or a bolster pillow under the knees. This is part of the yoga. This is part of the balancing that high intensity with softness. So I cannot say enough good things about finding a rest after this kind of a practice, even if it's just for a few moments. Allowing yourself to feel the ground beneath you and be completely held and supported. Know that I hold and support you, and that the earth holds and supports you. And that you can let the belly release, pelvis release, and soften further, and then further than that. So stay here as long as it feels good, and thank yourself for all that you were able to do, even if you only do a little bit, even if you only do some of the movements, even if you do 5 minutes. It's all baby steps in the right direction. Stay here as long as you can, and let me tell you one more little secret. I appreciate you. Thanks for showing up. I'm here alone, as I mentioned, but I know that on the other side, there is you, so I'm not alone. Thank you for joining Lizzie Brooks Yoga and Fitness. If you got any value to this, please hit like, please subscribe. Tell me more of what you're looking for in the comments, and I'll make a video about it. Namaste.